Time to talk with Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South, national senior columnist covering college football. Connor, happy Monday, and now we're 4 weeks into the football season. How you doing?
Gentlemen, doing well. I never like to hear that 4 weeks into the season. It means I got to start doing some mid-season things really soon. No, I'm not a fan of that. It's still September, so we're good.
Well, all right, so Arkansas-Auburn, thoughts on that game? 5-2 in turnovers, third down and long, big difference why Arkansas won, and Hugh Freeze calling out his quarterbacks.
Goodness gracious. This game was a mess. It was a mess in a lot of different ways, but it's better to win a mess than lose a mess, which Arkansas did. And Arkansas did in large part because I think that defense with Travis Williams has really taken another step. And I think that as much as everybody wants to point out the mistakes made by those Auburn quarterbacks, Hank Brown throwing into triple coverage multiple times and not being able to identify things pre-snap or post-snap, you got to give Arkansas some credit for that. I mean, there's a reason why he looks that confused. If they're just playing a base defense and he's unable to, and he's able to read coverages, it's a different story. So I do think that Arkansas deserves credit. And, outside of a couple of coverage busts here or there, I thought it was a pretty well-played game on that side of the ball. I think that Arkansas going into Jordan-Hare, even with an Auburn team that's down right now, is still such a huge win for Sam Pittman. I mean, just a really, really important win that if we were doing this forecasting in the preseason, we said, all right, what are the games that could actually get Arkansas to that next step and allow them to actually improve from last year? That was definitely one of them. Another one, of course, coming up this weekend against Texas A&M. But to be able to go into that place, even in a down year for Auburn, to me is just still a really, really encouraging sign for a program that you knew wanted to see those early signs and not go into the bye week at 2-4.
Yeah. Before we get your thoughts on Arkansas and A&M next week, Connor, I want to get your thoughts on that Tennessee-Oklahoma game. And, Tennessee doesn't look like they have much of a weakness, and they got a freshman quarterback out there. They look physical. They look fast. They look tough. They look like a playoff 12 team. How are your thoughts on Tennessee right now?
Man, championship contender, like legitimately. And I said coming into the year that I thought that Arkansas was going to be able to beat them that game in Fayetteville, and I think Arkansas is better than I thought they were going to be. I think Tennessee is definitely better than I thought it was going to be coming into this season. You're right; they just don't have weaknesses. They have so many different ways to beat you, and think about this. Josh Heupel, in his 6 seasons as a head coach, he was 1-12 when his teams didn't hit 30 points. And they win that game on Saturday night, a game in which he recognized pretty early on, like, look, our defense has this. We don't need to ask Nico Iamaleava to do too many things, throw the ball 40 times, even though they're kind of shutting down our ground game. I thought that Tennessee's defense was the star of the show. And, yeah, Oklahoma, kind of similar issues at the quarterback spot than what Auburn had. I still think that what they're doing up front and dominating that battle in the trenches is so impressive, and it's different than what I thought any Josh Heupel team would have. So Tennessee, in my opinion, I think they should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. I think Ohio State, their schedule so far has been an absolute joke, and I would rather give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt. I think they're absolutely for real.
Who on Tennessee's schedule do they need to really be worried about? Because they do get Alabama in Knoxville. They get Georgia in Athens. Those are the toughest games. Which of those two teams would provide the biggest test for them?
I think both. If we're being honest, as much as I do think this Tennessee team is different, even than the 22 team that they had, I still think those are the big hurdles that they're going to have to overcome, and I would probably expect them to be an underdog in both of those games. Maybe not the Bama game. We'll kind of wait and see how that plays out. But, I do think that they match up extremely well with both of those teams. And maybe their Achilles heel could be defending mobile quarterbacks. You saw Michael Hawkins Jr. come into the game late, and he was able to do some things with his legs, kind of a style that Tennessee really hasn't had to face so far early in the season. So TBD on how that looks against Jalen Milroe. But for now, yeah, how could you not think that this is a playoff caliber team? with what they've done so far, for my money, they've been the most impressive team in all of college football. The lack of weaknesses that they've shown, how stout they've been to start off the year with 19 quarters not allowing an offensive touchdown, and doing so with an offense that good. It is just kind of checking all of these different boxes. And I bet both of those teams, whether they want to admit it or not, they're kind of looking at this Tennessee team with a side eye going, man, they can give us a true 60-minute game and they can absolutely beat us.
Well, give me your sense of A&M in their first year under Elko, because I mean they're the second leading rushing team in the SEC. Arkansas is number 3. It looks like they've started to get the offense moving at least a little bit better with Marcel Reed, a guy that can really move, runs really well. I mean, that's one of the things about this Southwest Classic is you got a couple of the quarterbacks who could end up leading their team in rushing either game. What do you make of this matchup, Arkansas A&M? And, man, Connor, that's got to be independent of just the bad juju inside that stadium for Arkansas. We're talking strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be discussed when we bring up anytime these two teams play, because obviously just the one Arkansas victory since they started doing that since A&M joined the SEC. But, I'll be interested to see if Connor Wigman gets a start in this one. I think as much as everybody wanted to crown Marcel Reed for his performance against Florida, you saw against Bowling Green, a game that they've really struggled to put away. I think you saw some of the weaknesses that they could have in the passing game. It's like, well, we're judging Connor Wigman based on what he did against an elite Notre Dame defense, an elite Notre Dame secondary with 8 months to prepare, as opposed to judging Marcel Reed against Florida, which that defense is just a train wreck right now. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised if Connor Wigman, if he's healthy, ends up starting. He was in street clothes for the game over this past weekend. But it will be interesting because I don't know that we're going to see Mike Elko tip his hand with that. And so that makes it a bit of a unique challenge for Travis Williams to try and prepare for. But I think the encouraging thing that you've seen so far from Arkansas is I think they've adjusted well defensively. And if they do have to chase someone around like Marcel Reed in this ground attack that's been a little bit more hot and cold probably than the numbers suggest so far, I do think that they'll be able to make some of those adjustments with how good they looked against Ollie Gordon second against Oklahoma State. So, yeah, I do think that A&M is always going to feel like it has the advantage in this matchup, but it is a pivotal game, I think, for Sam Pittman as you look at the remaining schedule and what feels like is a gauntlet that awaits in the second half.
Hey, Connor, watching, Arch Manning first career start. I know it was against Monroe. How would you grade his first career start? And is there any controversy there at all? As soon as Quinn Ewers is healthy, is he coming back in? Is he the guy?
Yeah, it's like a C-plus start, and Ewers is the guy. I mean, Ewers was the Heisman Trophy favorite when he got hurt, and he suffers that oblique injury. It's kind of a weird deal if you're watching it, where it was basically like a non-contact injury, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Arch Manning get another start against a lifeless Mississippi State defense, because you're trying to be conservative with Quinn Ewers, a guy that has missed multiple starts each of the last 2 years. And I think that starting Arch again and getting him reps against a quote-unquote SEC defense is really beneficial. I think you see all the promise with him. It's not difficult to see it. I mean, the mobility is better than what the Manning name would suggest. His ability to attack downfield, like some of these throws over the middle, you could confuse him for Carson Beck with how he rips it between the hashes. He looks really, really strong in that area. But then there are other times where you see the timing is off. And, yeah, he trusts the scheme, but sometimes he just doesn't necessarily make those reads early enough when you need them to in the Steve Sarkisian offense. It's no quarterback controversy whatsoever. Quinn Ewers is the guy as long as he's healthy. But if we see Arch Manning this weekend against Mississippi State, just to make sure that Quinn Ewers is 100% healthy for the Red River rivalry coming off of the bye week, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me.
So a couple more things for you here, Connor. The injury to Harold Perkins out for the rest of the year with a knee injury, and we expected this would be the last season he played at LSU and go into the NFL draft. Huge freshman season. Last year his role changed. His numbers took a dive. This year also just looked like, I'm not going to say he was ineffective, just wasn't getting to quarterbacks and was still dropping back at times. How does this affect LSU? Because they've already struggled a bit defensively at times.
It definitely affects them. And look, I don't have to tell Arkansas fans about how good Harold Perkins is when he's unleashed. I mean, they'll never forget Harold Perkins Day in 2022. But to me, it is just such a devastating blow to see what's happened the last year plus with him, and to see a program that is known for having these standout defensive players struggle to find the right way to use him. It's a shame. It really is. And I don't know with certainty that he's played his last college down. I'm actually writing something right now, like literally have this open as we speak, about why it could actually make sense for him to play one more year as a guy that projects as very much a tweener at the NFL level. But, man, it definitely impacts this LSU team that's trying to make a push to the 12-team playoff, because I think they figured a lot of things out on the offensive side of the ball. Like Garrett Nussmeier has been everything LSU fans could have hoped for and more. They're still figuring out the ground game, but they do have a high-powered offense. The defense has just been so quarter to quarter with them, and not have potentially a generational type talent in the middle of that defense. Even if he's out of position, to me, it's still just such a massive, massive setback for Blake Baker and what he's trying to do. It definitely makes LSU a more favorable matchup for its future opponents.
Hey, Connor, big one. Georgia, Alabama is the winner, the number one team in the country. And who do you got in this Georgia-Alabama matchup?
Yeah, it could very well be. I think the winner of this game has a real case to be number one. And, I say that as someone that has banged the drum for Alabama. And I think that Jalen Milroe coming into the season, he was my predicted Heisman Trophy winner. I think so far there's been a lot of really positive signs with his development in this Kalen DeBoer offense. But, man, I think Kirby's got something for Bama. I do. And maybe it's post-Nick Saban and the boogeyman's gone, whatever the case may be. Quarterbacks just don't beat Kirby Smart twice. The only one who's done it is Joe Burrow. I mean, think about that. Like, it is such a rare thing to do. It was such a rare thing to do for Nick Saban during his time at Alabama. Of course, Jordan Jefferson is the only one who beat Alabama in consecutive starts while Nick Saban was there. And so asking Jalen Milroe to do that after all the things he did well in that SEC championship last year, it might be too difficult. It really might be. I can't wait for this one on Saturday night. Bama, home underdog, potentially for the first time since 2007. I mean, I know we get sick of seeing these teams play in the SEC championship because it feels like it happens every year. But I love when they get to face off in the regular season especially. So, yeah, the winner of this one very much has a case to be the number one team in the country and has a strong case to be at the top of that 12-team playoff discussion.
Connor, you're good to join us. Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. Couple of weeks, okay?
Gentlemen, sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Connor.
Connor O'Gara, you can read his column Saturday Down South, or you'll get him here on Halftime every couple of weeks.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.